welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi, Batra, and this is our special edition Ask BT, a series that we've been doing all through the budget week. This is to help all our viewers clarify any doubts that they have about the budget that's been just presented. A day after that, we've seen the markets react, but if you still have questions about whether the budget is really important when it comes to key sectors that you are investing in, key stocks that you are investing in, then in case there are any doubts, you can send in all of those questions right here. We already had asked some questions. We have a list of some questions that have come in to us from our viewers. And we further invite, in case you're watching our program live on our YouTube channel, then you can continue to send in some questions on this chat. Although, just refrain from asking any stock related questions here, because this is a program where I will be welcoming top editors of Business Today Television to answer your questions. With me on this program is Mr. Siddharth Zarabi. He's the editor of Business Today. And we also have with me here in the studios, Shailender, Bhatnagar, editor for Markets. Warm welcome to both of you, and thank you so much for joining in. Well, Sunday was really spent reading out in the fine print of the budget to find out which are the areas, which are the sectors, and who are the segments of people who have benefited the most from the budget, and that's what we will try and understand. But Siddharth, let me just first ask the question to you. How did you find the budget this time around? Of course, like many headlines said, the common man is on the moon.
Well, clearly, there are two things that we can say on day 3 after the budget presentation, Saturday, Sunday, and today being Monday. One, that the fine print surprises that all of us, particularly Shail and I, have seen in the past, including that infamous retrospective amendment. So far, there isn't anything that is comparable. So, in that sense, the Finance Minister, Nirmala Sitharaman, her 8th record budget, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, all the budget makers must be complimented for ensuring that this is a budget which does not have hidden surprises. Unless something is found in the fine print, so far there aren't hidden surprises. हाथी के दांत खाने के और दिखाने के अलग-अलग ऐसा नहीं है. That is point number 1. Point number 2, I think we must understand that in economics there is a term, concept which is called the impossible trinity, which is to ensure growth at moderate prices without any negative surprises for overall monetary system. I would say that this budget has tried to address consumption, spending slowdown that is apparent not just in headline numbers but also Sakshi and Shailendra via corporate earnings that we are seeing. On the other hand, it has continued to tell the world that as far as fiscal responsibility is concerned, India is unlike so many other countries in a post-COVID era, which have just spent money and money and money, and the United States is the best example of money being thrown, as it is called, helicopter money. They have thrown money by the shovel, by the bucket. So overall, I believe this is one of the most pragmatic, sensible, solid documents that one has seen in many, many years.
Perfect. Pragmatic, solid document, no hidden, negatives in the budget, and therefore we are looking at what it could promise for the economy and the markets also promisingly. But Shail, to you also, I think a lot of viewers are still asking that if the budget was so good, then why are the markets not reacting positively? So I think we can get that out of the way to start off with, that why did the markets not rise if the budget was so good and extraordinary and a historic one when it comes to the tax announcements that they've done?
So Sakshi, the reason is that the problems that the Indian market faces are far bigger for the short term that the budget can solve or the market can do anything about them. And they are in the form of a currency war, which is now apparent to all of us. Look at the way how markets opened gap down today. So there was a relief rally for previous 6 sessions starting the Friday gone by, the one in the previous week, till Saturday. And now you have an opportunity for foreign institutional investors to come in and sell at higher level. They will take this opportunity till the time the rupee hits till 88, 89, 90. This is a currency war that we are facing, coupled with a tariff war. One is feeding the other. So, you have small pockets of convenience in the market. Look at how hotel stocks went up, look at how food ordering apps are going up, which is answering that most immediate thing that the government has done, which is give people 1 lakh crore rupees in their hand.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, that is the part of the market which is buoyant. Therefore, you see auto stocks doing well, you see four-wheeler stocks doing well, but you do not see any movement in real estate. Okay. So, that is what the market is looking at. This is the only sop that the market got. It is reacting to it. The rest of the market is under very heavy selling pressure, and given the circumstances that Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman and Mr. Modi find themselves, this is the best budget you could have, which takes care of consumption partly, which takes care of fiscal consolidation partly, and which of course starts the path, if at all, of capex, nothing else.
Perfect. We'll start taking some questions that are coming into from our viewers. Let's take the first question. This is from Vaishali Sharma, and I'll direct this question to you, Siddharth. And this question is, will things like petrol, diesel and gas prices go up or down after the budget? Petrol and diesel prices not discussed at all, but this have been a major pain point for the middle class.
Well, let's put this question in perspective. For the past 2 years plus, petrol and diesel prices have not changed in India. Around 2 years ago, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his government took a call of abandoning the daily price movement system that had been put in place earlier. In fact, after 2014, we saw this move open up in a full manner of daily price movements for oil marketing companies to change prices. Now, whether it is a Indian Oil or a Bharat Petroleum or a HPCL, wherever you buy your petrol diesel from, prices have not been changed, what are called pump prices or retail prices. The first Modi government had to deal with oil bonds from the 10 years of Manmohan Singh's prime ministership and management of the fuel economy. I think today we haven't heard anything from the government for many months now about any pressure on the oil marketing companies. The oil marketing companies were in fact compensated from the budget by the government rather than forcing them to take a roundabout manner of issue bonds and that liability coming on later. So, clean and transparent budgeting, yet another example of the Modi government. Now, what has this budget done? It has done nothing as far as direct prices are concerned. However, there is one small element that we need to consider. In fact, two.
Okay.
The first, if 1 lakh crore of tax rebates are going to be spent by those who now have more surplus income in their hand, almost 10 million or 1 crore taxpayers, it may lead to some amount of higher inflation in a certain basket of goods and services. Typically, higher inflation feeds into overall increase in energy prices as demand goes up. But because the government has kept, whether you call it artificial or deliberate, your choice of words, petrol and diesel and gas prices frozen, it is in fact the government completely controlling these prices, not allowing the producers to change these prices. There is no pass-through. One final point. The larger question of India's petrol diesel pricing and our fuel mix has to be dealt through goods and services tax, which is outside the budget. Our entire fuels, our alcohol and land are still not part of GST.
Yes.
And that has to happen for us to have a rational long-term fuel pricing situation.
Okay, perfect. I hope, Vaishali, this has clearly helped you understand how these prices get affected and why there is no change immediately and what could be coming in when you expect the petrol diesel prices going forward. We have another question. This is from Ether and I will direct this to Shell now. Ether wants to know from you, Shell, what are the best ways to invest money after budget 2025? And that's a valid question. Just like how Siddharth also put it, we have 1 lakh crore of money, additional money in the hand of these 1 crore people, and all of this has to be spent, and the good part is that our viewers are thinking of spending it wisely and not just splurging into it, but they want to invest this money. So where exactly should they put this money?
So, first things first, get hold of a good financial advisor and take an independent view. But this is what is most likely to happen in the next 12 to 15 months. One, we are going through a round of extreme choppiness and a lot of pain. The last time we saw a currency war, it was 1995-96. Siddharth and I were newly minted reporters. We used to meet every day, and you will not believe there was a time when many Asian, so-called Asian tigers, lost 25% of their currency value in a single day. It is not going to happen in India because we have capital controls on currency. Nevertheless, we are headed towards weakness. It essentially means that foreign funds will continue to sell as long as the rupee is unstable or has not found its base. With this background in mind, there is a likelihood that large cap stocks will relatively outperform mid caps and small caps. In that case, please go in for a good flexi cap fund or a good multi asset fund if you have a shorter horizon of less than 3 years. What has also going to happen is that your expectations, whatever that you had to make money from the market, they should be down to zero. We are back on the drawing board when it comes to expecting markets to give positive return in 2025. But one thing is for certain, your SIP should not stop. 2, start a SIP in a large cap dominated fund, and if you are in mid caps and small cap funds, please continue to do so. 4th, make no investment in any thematic fund or an NFO which addresses a small section of the market. That is the reason, ladies and gentlemen, why you see this correction that is very steep in defense counters, in consumption theme, in capex and all, because a concentrated part of the market which had already run up very sharply was being targeted by smart operators and by smart investors. They exited and now the fund holds that, and the fund is actually investing your money. उनको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, उनको फीस मिलती है, but money is yours. So you have to be very careful. Focus only on large caps, and that too within maybe Nifty 100 index. Don't look beyond that. Try and address that part of the market via mutual funds. Do not stop your SIP. A flexi cap fund is a better opportunity at these days.
Right, and as Shell also pointed out, do speak to your own financial advisor before taking any advice right here. Of course, this is as per general investment advice that we give, but for your own goals, you need to speak to your financial advisor to get prepared better when it comes to your investment strategy. Okay, let's take the...
Yes. Sakshi, if I may add, I just want to refer all our viewers to Business Today's YouTube channel. Yes. And on the day of the budget, after the budget, including today, there are several interviews, viewers that Sakshi, Shell and I have done, including, for example, with Madhusudan Gila today, who is one of the best known market gurus in India, one of our best market masters, who are explaining very clearly what this budget and the overall global situation, domestic situation. And one point that Shell spoke about, that was mentioned by Madhu Kela. Your expectations for 2025 or perhaps even 18 months now need to be tempered with reality. But please remember the big message that I can add here. You saw 4 months of choppiness in the market. You saw exit from FIIs. That may continue. We don't know. Next 30 to 60 days will make it clear, also on account of what President Donald Trump of the United States is going to do. But this budget is a watershed moment, because what it has done is to focus all investors on the long-term value creation, wealth generation story. Do not respond to short-term impulses. Look at the medium to long term. And this Friday, the monetary policy announcement will also be one more event in the short term. But here, I think, and Sakshi, both of you also track the market so well, you would agree with this categorization that perhaps, we are now at a new point where you can rejoin or once again begin the process of long-term wealth creation.
Absolutely. That's perfect. Long-term vision is the best way how you can create wealth, and that's how your strategies should be. Of course, time to all your goals. Let's look at the next question. Okay. This question is from Avijas Makan, and he says, are long-term capital gains tax exemptions still available? Okay, Shail, I'm going to be putting that to you. There was a lot of fear this time that again, एक बार फिर से तो कहीं नहीं LTC, GST जैसे taxes बढ़ा दिए जाएंगे. Nothing of that sort happened, and that I think was the biggest breather for investors. Last time when it rose after a long haul, but markets did not take them very well. Abhi, what is the current situation in the budget?
So, Sakshi, there is no change in the current situation. They are taxed at 12.5%, provided you have long-term capital gains to get taxed.
After the 4 months of pain in the markets.
There is no change in that. Change is in the underlying price. Siddharth is also laughing.
No, I think this is a larger point. On a lighter note, that to be taxed, you first need to gain something. The larger question is looking at your portfolio, adjusting to the changes, and like Shail said, do not stop SIPs. That is what every market expert is saying. You have to be in it for the long haul. Short-termism may not be the strategy at this point of time.
Siddharth, I could possibly write a monograph on SIPs. They are actually a mathematical way of answering market volatility and making the best that you can with limited knowledge and limited access to corporate India. Even if you have zero idea about how to invest, if you do 3 basic things in this market for 30 years, you will end up making so much of money that you will need to employ the 3 of us to count them. It is very simple. Do not stop your SIP. Choose 3 quality funds, maybe 4 quality funds, 60% large cap, 20% mid cap, 15% small cap, and 5% international. Never stop the SIP. Markets may go to tops, markets may go to bottom. Buy all that market. When you need money, take that money out, do whatever you like. Send your child overseas, buy a new car, buy a bigger home, pay for your daughter's education, do whatever you like. But till the time you earn, continue with their SIP and keep on increasing that SIP. You will make so much of money in a country like India where the long-term prospects of the bull market remain. This is a short-term volatility that we are dealing with. This will go away. But if you do not buy the market at this level, you will not make supernormal money.
Yes.
You know, Sakshi, what is being said here reminds me, when you drink tea, you drink it sip by sip because it is hot. If you gulp your tea in one go, तो बात वही है कि आप सिप बाय सिप SIP करिए, आराम से करिए. गरम चाय को भी एक साथ नहीं पी सकते हैं. सारा पैसा एक बारी में मत लगाइए. जलने के बड़ी उसमें chances हैं. Sip by sip. That is what SIP really means. But let me point out, viewers, we are not endorsing anything. We are only providing you a reflection of what we hear from a lot of market masters and market gurus, and in a journalistic sense, this is not a recommendation or advice or counseling by any stretch of the imagination.
एब्सोल्युटली सिप बाय सिप करके आप इंजॉय करें अपने निवेश को और लॉन्ग टर्म के बेनिफिट्स ले. नेक्स्ट हमारे पास जो सवाल आया, इनफैक्ट देयर इज अ लाइव व्यूअर विद अस ऑन यूट्यूब, सो वील टेक हिज क्वेश्चन फर्स्ट. सदफ नूर सेज, हैज द बजट मेड एजुकेशन, हेल्थ केयर और मेडिसिन अफोर्डेबल? Siddharth, I'm going to be putting that to you. I think again, the question is on the basics and what people really want in the middle class. Education, healthcare and medicines to become cheaper.
Well, once again, the tax component, the indirect tax component of our monthly annual spending is now outside the budget. Frankly, the budget of India, of the union government, is now a budget only of direct taxes. The import duty component is very small. What has the government done on import duty front? There were certain specific classes of treatments, medicines, including for cancer, that I recall, where some amount of relief has been provided because many of those medicines may not be manufactured in India. The larger question of inflation in these categories, if Sadaf is pointing towards that question, I would say that government spending and borrowing is a bigger issue when it comes to long-term, medium-term inflation for all Indians, Aam Aadmi specifically. The lesser that the government spends, the lesser it borrows. And I would say that while the government has done a very commendable job of continuing to consolidate the financial fiscal position of its balance sheet, remember what happened during COVID when the fiscal deficit went up beyond 9%. I think the bigger question that India has to ask is how big should our government be? In the United States now there is a Department of Government Efficiency, which wants to find ways to cut government expenditure. In a big country like India, 1.4 billion people, 10 billion problems, issues, we need government in social security, in law and order, and in certain areas. But the bigger question is, how much government do we need? And I think government expenditure remaining contained, wage bill remaining contained, pension bill remaining contained is the only way in the long term that there will be some realistic decline in the price situation. Otherwise, we will keep getting confused with percentages.
Fair point. Let's take Sunil Das's question. Shail, this is for you. Crypto में होने वाली कमाई पर क्या अब भी 30% टैक्स लगेगा? I think this question comes from the fact that overseas in the US there is a lot of focus on crypto, and therefore they want to know whether India is changing their position and whether there was anything in the budget this time around to give some relief on taxes on crypto also.
So, Sakshi, I ran a control F 2 or 3 times on crypto. There wasn't a word. So, 2 points. Whatever was the previous regime, it continues. Now, please note that the government of India does not recognize cryptocurrency, but it taxes you on any profit that you have made. Losses from crypto cannot be offset. So, with that background in mind, ladies and gentlemen, please pay attention to this very, very important tax issue. There is zero recognition to crypto in India by the government. There is taxation on whatever money you make, if at all, and the government offers absolutely zero benefit if you lose money. More importantly, there are absolutely no crypto exchanges in India. Whatever is going on under the name of an exchange is actually a website which is not regulated by any regulator in the government of India, and therefore you do not even have that benefit to go and speak to somebody in control and in command if something goes wrong with your crypto wallet. So, with these 4 backgrounds, please note that there is no change in crypto taxation. Siddharth, would you like to add anything on crypto?
I think there is a larger question that is coming back into play. Let's take three of the world's largest countries and economies in different ranks: the United
Yes.
States, China, and India. What has China done for cryptocurrencies? It has done an outright ban. In the United States, the return of President Donald Trump is being also called, in a sort of half serious manner, the return of a Bitcoin presidency. In India, for a year and a half before this particular peculiar way of disallowing crypto in a way was started, the government toyed with the idea of coming up with a set of regulations, what to do with crypto and the underlying technology. Government then kind of, after toying with multiple options, decided, like Shell said, we are not going to talk about crypto, whether it is good, bad, ugly, but your capital gains will be taxed. However, it did a unique thing. Losses which are allowed as part of basic taxation philosophy in India and elsewhere in the world, it said your losses also cannot be treated. So they basically said, कान ऐसे पकड़िए वैसे पकड़िए, क्रिप्टो से आपको पैसा नहीं बनाने देंगे. But what is now the bigger issue in this world of AI, of machine language, of blockchain? Already in India, there are multiple examples of blockchain technology being used, for example, with regard to verification of land records. So that technology is there. The question of currency, or as a central bank digital currency, which RBI has tried to do some pilot, I think the United States and 4 years of President Trump will lead to the evolution of a new policy approach, regulatory and taxation approach towards crypto. And what the United States does today actually sets the standards for the rest of the world tomorrow. So I think crypto's evolution in India is now looking more towards the United States than towards China. And one final point, Sakshi, India's policy choices cannot and should not mirror China's.
Yes.
So the question is, what the United States will do, I think, will influence her policy in the future.
Yeah. Okay, we'll just have to wait and watch to find out what the future statements come in. But so far on the budget document, there is no mention of crypto. So as per your question, the taxation regime remains same on crypto as well. We'll take the next question now, and this is from Zoya Nigar, who says, which is better for someone earning 12 lakh rupees, the old tax regime or the new tax regime? I think you're asked the easiest question, Zoya. Till 12 lakhs, there is a no-brainer. You go for the new tax regime because you will pay zero taxes. So there is no question that you look at the old tax regime at all. You pay zero taxes on your income up to 12 lakh rupees. I think the question will arise for those earning a little bit more. We have done a video again today explaining that there is an option for people earning up to 13.7 lakhs also to explore an option to get to zero tax liability, and that is by way of including both standard deduction and by including your contribution to NPS that comes to an amount of 96,000 rupees. That's when you get your overall taxable salary under 12 lakhs, and then therefore again you get to zero tax liability. Of course, beyond that also there is a lot of change as far as the tax slabs are concerned, and we've done enough and more videos and content, and there is everything available on Business Today website as well, where you can actually compare what were the previous rates, the new rates, and you can also do calculation for yourself to find out how much are you going to be saving as per some examples that we have shared and the government has also shared. For those earning 16 lakh rupees, if you were in the new age, in the new tax regime, then from earlier tax slabs to the latest ones, there is a 50,000 rupee tax saving that you end up doing. For those earning 24 lakh rupees or even 50 lakh rupees from the earlier new tax regime and now the new slabs, there is a saving of 1.1 lakh rupees as well. So that's how you end up saving some of the taxes right there. Hope that questions also got an answer to you. Let's go across to taking some other questions. Let's take another one, and this is Rajat's question. And I think a similar question was also asked by one of the other viewers, and that is again Sadaf, as well as one question was being asked by one other viewer also, and it's all on jobs. A lot of people are asking on jobs. So Siddharth, I'll put that question to you. Rajat says, does the budget address unemployment and job creation? And what should I really understand from here? So unemployment and jobs is one major question that this government has had to face for a long time. What were the key mentions when it comes to job creation opportunities in the budget?
Well, India and perhaps nowhere else as well, there is no Ministry of Unemployment. And therefore, there is no budgetary allocation for that Ministry of Unemployment. The way we should look at it is, what is the government doing with the money that they collect from us as tax? There is tax revenue, non-tax revenue. What is the government doing? In this budget, the fundamental difference is that this government is telling people, go spend. अपनी जेब से बाहर जाके पैसा खर्चो because I have given you extra money. Now there can be many people in those 10 million, 1 crore people who are now no longer liable to pay tax for 12.75 lakh including standard deduction, and if you are saving for NPS, the amount goes up a little bit more. But if they save, it's going to be a different scenario. So budgetary allocation for education and healthcare has continued on a certain path. The argument is it should go up very, very significantly. This is a criticism that every budget gets. And, I think given the size of our population, this will continue. One final point. If you recall, the government last year mentioned a very big internship scheme. And the numbers there were 1 million people. I think that scheme needs to now be speeded up, because that will give some initial exposure, industry exposure, a small stipend, and get people prepared for the job force. India not only has a problem with gross employment, it also has a major problem in finding the right skilled people in certain sectors where job growth is happening. See, a lot of people have now, in the last 10-15 years, the trend is to go towards BTech. But if you go into many non-engineering areas, many other areas, we see there is a dearth of talent. And those who come out fresh from colleges have to be reskilled. Very significant amounts are spent by companies to reskill and prepare them. So it's a mixed bag. A budget that will generate growth will ultimately also generate employment.
Absolutely. Hope that answers your question, Rajat, there, and also Sadaf, who was asking the same question. Let's now look at some of the other questions. This is from Gita Radha, and Gita Radha wants to know, have interest rates on savings, FDs or PF changed at all?
No, Sakshi, they have. And they remain the same as they were. Small savings interest rate, public provident fund rate, they keep on adjusting on every quarterly basis. That is done by a different part of the government. And of course, private banking rates are controlled by banks in general. What we do have is a policy meet that is coming up later this week, and possibly over the next 2-3 months, when this currency war dies down or it becomes less volatile, or Mr. Trump becomes more amenable to do business instead of fighting, then we will have a potential cut in interest rates in the country.
Absolutely. All eyes will be on the RBI policy upcoming on 7th of February, and that will also decide the course of how some of the interest rate regime changes could probably start after a long haul of staying put, at least on the benchmark rate that RBI monitors. Let's look at some other questions. This is Naima, and she says, how does the budget impact women, youth and some marginalized communities, and how will the budget impact GDP growth and inflation? Siddharth, Siddharth, I think you can take this. I think the biggest talk point before the budget was whether the budget will be pro-growth and will be able to push and pump prime the economy. Has the budget done enough to move that needle?
Well, the jury is still out on the exact impact. Very clearly, if 1 lakh crore is the amount of tax that the government is not going to realize, question number one, will that entire 1 lakh crore be spent? And remember one fundamental point, this is not a one-time 1 lakh crore. This 1 lakh crore will now happen perpetually every year unless some government decides to reverse this, which is not going to happen. Therefore, how much of this 1 lakh crore of lesser tax burden on the common man will get spent? What will it get spent on? Okay, will it be saved in the manner of bank deposits? Will it go to stock market? Will it go to crypto exchanges through some via media route? We don't know the answer to that. Therefore, there are many well-known economists, including former Chief Economic Advisor Krishnamurthy Subramaniam, who has said this. But what I can say is that most people believe that there will be additional spending, and that will mean that more goods and services are consumed. The moment more goods and services are consumed, it lifts overall GDP growth, and therefore the number cannot be predicted at this stage. However, remember that this 1 lakh crore may perhaps prevent a further decline in our headline GDP growth numbers. How much it might lead to a rebound is a matter of a debate, but it is the same thing as market sentiment कि निफ्टी सेंसेक्स और नहीं गिरेगा, इतना बढ़ेगा ये नहीं कह सकते हैं. So I think it should be perhaps seen from that point of view.
Perfect. Well, we've actually taken many questions today and more are coming up, but we'll have to wind up this session right here. Thank you so much, Siddharth, and thank you so much, Shail, for addressing most of the questions that have come up and I'm hoping that all the viewers have got some clarity with respect to their own questions on the budget, and we'll promise we can keep coming back in case you have more questions. Do write into us on various of our social media platforms, on our YouTube platform as well. If there is some kind of a doubt that still remains, then we can come out with another special edition on Ask BT for all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in onto Business Today Television. Decoding of the budget fine print will continue all through this week with the stakeholders of the budget makers, and along with it also the top experts from economists to even industry veterans and market veterans at large. Stay tuned onto Business Today Television to catch all the post-budget action.